How's everybody doing? Just give me a second here, and I'll be with you in a second. Okay, so let's get this party started where you get to see me show off my superpower, or should I say one of them? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, on January 14th, they dropped 279, my only big money pattern on fire. I promised it would manifest between the dates 1/7 and 1/15. Here, we don't play the lottery. Here, we invest in the best, and I am the best at what I do. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, 9745. Ladies and gentlemen, the only number on fire, 9745. Y'all see it for yourself. And I told my VIP, look, I promise the fire will manifest 1/9 to 1/17 in Tennessee. Now remember, I keep getting emails and I keep getting inbox messages from people who are not listening. And when you don't listen, when you're not reading, guess what? I can't even communicate with you. Because when I talk to you, whatever I say to you is going to go right over your head or right through you. Again, I put it in writing what will happen. Okay? Look, I promise the fire, the $$, and the first two. Ladies and gentlemen, 9745, straight in Tennessee. But I say your state first. Your state is wherever you live. Whatever state you are residing in, I do your state. I do Louisiana, Alaska, California, Vermont, Connecticut, all of them. So, watch this. 139, ladies and gentlemen, I guaranteed my VIP 139 would manifest between the dates January 9th and January 17th. In your state first, then in Texas. Straight. Somebody keep track of this. This is my new and improved cheat sheet for all states. Ladies and gentlemen, 549 on January 14th. Ladies and gentlemen, I guaranteed in 1 hour that big money pattern would manifest on 114. 2137, number one big money pattern. I told my VIP, hey, look, if you want to even come close to winning, focus on my top 5 4 digits. I promise the first 2 big money patterns will manifest 17 to 115 in your state first and then in Georgia. You see it, number one big money pattern. Ladies and gentlemen, 6222. Ladies and gentlemen, my only motherfucking big money pattern on fire. You see it for yourself. I promise that I can make it happen between the dates 111 and 119 in your state first and then in Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, 063. Ladies and gentlemen, I promised. If you wanted to win on 1-5, focus on my top 5 3 digits, which I promise the first 2 will manifest. From 1-5 to 114, I met the deadline date. You see it for yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, 612. Ladies and gentlemen, I promise my VIP. Look, if you want to come close to winning, focus on my top 5. Let's stop right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom, boom, boom. Which I promise the triple dollar signs. Look at that. The first triple dollar sign will manifest from 111 to 119. I also guaranteed you would see it go to your state first and then Ohio. Ladies and gentlemen, 916. Ladies and gentlemen, I promise my VIP, look to win. Focus on my top 5 3 digits, which I promise the first 2 big money patterns will manifest from 112 to 120. I told them I don't practice this, but in most cases, I can make it happen in 24 to 48 hours straight. Ladies and gentlemen, 906. Ladies and gentlemen, I promised my VIP that I could make that happen. You see it for yourself between the dates 110 and 118. Ladies and gentlemen, 1109. Ladies and gentlemen, 1109. Woo! Y'all see it for yourself between the dates 19 to 117. I told my VIP, hey, look, if you want to come close to winning, focus on my top 5 4 digits. 1, 2, 3. Woo! You see it for yourself. I said these numbers will manifest between the dates 19 and 117. I also threw another key factor in there. I said I guarantee the number 3 big money pattern in your state first, then Tennessee. Boom, boom, boom. That's straight, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, 897. Ladies and gentlemen, I told my VIP, hey, look, nobody is going to be wagering, playing, or investing in that combination at all. That's a black sheep. And I told them, guess what? You would do well if you invest in it up until the 14th. When did they drop it? 114. Straight! Ladies and gentlemen, number 1 motherfucking big money pattern. You see it for yourself. And I told them between 111 and 119, you will see this big money pattern manifest. Ladies and gentlemen, 5, 6, 9, 4. Ladies and gentlemen. Woo! 5, 6, 9, 4. Straight by the deadline date. You see it for yourself between the dates 1/6 and 1/14. I ain't playing with you guys. I'm doing this stuff for real. Between the dates 1/6 and 1/14, if you would have believed in me like I believe in you, you'd do this. Look at this right here, 687. Woo! Promised my top 2 big money patterns would manifest in Tennessee between the dates 110 and 119. You see it for yourself. And then you got it black sheep on time. I told my VIP, nobody is going to believe that this number will manifest like this. It did. Between the dates 19 and 118. Ladies and gentlemen, 483. Ladies and gentlemen, I promised my top 2 big money patterns. If you wanted to win, focus on my top 5 3 digits, which I promised the first 2 big money patterns will manifest from 111 to 119. I also guaranteed it would go to your state first, then Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, you see the black sheep straight, 483, right there, 17 to 116 in Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, 7489. Ladies and gentlemen, my only motherfucking big money pattern on fire. You see it for yourself between the dates 112 and 119. Ladies and gentlemen, 881. Ladies and gentlemen, 881. Triple dollar signed it. Promised my very last number you see would manifest first in Ohio between the dates 110 and 118. Ladies and gentlemen, 449. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I promised my triple dollar sign 449 straight would manifest on 114 in Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, 0343. You see it for yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want it to win, focus on my top 5 4 digits. You see that I said that they would manifest between the dates 18 and 117. I also guaranteed the number 4 big money pattern would roll out in Florida on the 14th as proof. Ladies and gentlemen, 516. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I told my VIP that I promise you will see me manifest straight 516. To win, focus on my top 5 3 digits. I promise The first two will manifest between the dates 1/6 and 1/14, even doing it by the deadline date. Ladies and gentlemen, 978, ladies and gentlemen, you see it for yourself. Number one, big money pattern, 114. 111 to 119 is when I gave it. You got 094. Ladies and gentlemen, I promise 094 would manifest by the deadline date. You see it for yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let me look up and see that there's no hearts rolling on my screen. I'm focused on helping you win. You should be focused on showing me love. Ladies and gentlemen, do you see this? 1589. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, the only motherfucking big money pattern on fire. I promised you would see it manifest 113 to 120. Don't miss out on what happened on 115. I'm still on 114. Please don't let me look up and see no hearts rolling across my screen. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, triple dollar signed it. Told you the very last number you see would manifest first. 8837, ladies and gentlemen, I guaranteed my number 3 big money pattern, 7883, would manifest on 114. Ladies and gentlemen, 398, ladies and gentlemen, I promised 398 would manifest straight. You see it for yourself. Triple dollar signed it between the dates 112 and 119 in Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, 214, ladies and gentlemen, 214, I promise to make that happen straight 23 hours before it even debuted in Tennessee. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, 2120, ladies and gentlemen, 18 hours ago, my black sheep proved that no one would be investing in the 1022. That was 18 hours before it dropped. I told you no one would be investing in it. Ladies and gentlemen, 115, ladies and gentlemen, 115, another black sheep on time, straight, making us aware that no one would be looking for it to drop. You see it for yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, you got the 874. Ladies and gentlemen, I guaranteed my VIP, my number 4 big money pattern would manifest straight. If they wanted to win, they needed to focus on my top 5 3 digits. You see it for yourself. I said that they would manifest between the dates 17 and 115. They dropped on 114. Here I go showing off. Promised I triple dollar sign would manifest. You see it for yourself. Triple dollar signed it. And between the dates 111 and 119. Ladies and gentlemen, you got your 5928. Ladies and gentlemen, my only motherfucking big money pattern on fire. By the deadline date, I told my VIP, you can count on me. I will bring the fucking fire. You see it for yourself between the dates 17 and 115. Ladies and gentlemen, you got 1641. Ladies and gentlemen, my number 1 motherfucking big money pattern. I promised my VIP that I could make it happen in Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, you got your 386. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this. This is January 15th. You better take notes right now. Pencil, paper, crayon, and paper, I don't care. You need it right now. You see it for yourself. I triple dollar signed it, said it would drop off in Michigan between the dates 111 and 120. Ladies and gentlemen, you got your 523. You remember I went live. I told you 523 would manifest straight between the dates 113 and 121. Ladies and gentlemen, 404. Ladies and gentlemen, I triple dollar signed it. I made it the very last number you see. It is a strategic formula that I developed to fuck up the matrix. And you have it at your disposal being a VIP. straight. Ladies and gentlemen, 045. Ladies and gentlemen, 045. The black sheep will not lie. The black sheep tells me, look, this number, nobody is going to be expecting it to fall, drop, hit, manifest this way. So I say, okay, I got you covered. Ladies and gentlemen, I promised my triple dollar sign would manifest 114 to 121. Today is 115. I told you, this is for investment purposes only. Yeah, sure. You can hit in an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, or 4. But guess what? In just investing for 2 to 4 days will bring you a windfall of money that you wouldn't have never had you never invested in yourself. Again, look, 0783. I promised my VIP, if they wanted to win, this is a prerequisite to join. So when you email me, I'm going to ask you, do you know the prerequisite? Because I don't do well answering simple questions that are right here in the prediction. Like when somebody asks me, do you do Connecticut? Do you do Nebraska? Don't you see your state in capital motherfucking letters? I tell you that I also will get you Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, Ohio, Michigan, Florida, and North Carolina as a motherfucking bonus. Concentrate on your state. You see it for yourself. To win, focus on my top 5 4 digits. I promise the first 2 will manifest between the dates 114 and 122. I also guarantee you see it for yourself, it to debut in North Carolina. And in most cases, I don't practice this shit, but guess what? I'm so good at what I do that I can make it happen in 24 to 48 motherfucking hours. Boom, boom, boom. And look at this, me showing off to win. Ladies and gentlemen, I told my VIP, focus on my top 5 4 digits. I promise the triple dollar signs will manifest from 18 to 117. I also guarantee you would see it in your state, but also in North Carolina. You see it right there. Boom, boom, boom. And congratulations to one of my VIP members, nailing one. Woo! I like to see when they do it like that. That comes from listening, ladies and gentlemen. That comes from following winning instructions, ladies and gentlemen. A 5-year-old can pick the first 2 numbers. A 5-year-old can pick out fire. A 5-year-old can pick out triple dollar signs. You see this for yourself. I do this every day. I've been doing it for 8 years. I'm going to take you back to last year when I was doing this by hand and still making waves. And that's how accurate this information is. You see it for yourself. Watch out for 7116. You better watch out for 9338. Watch out for 2661 and 6621. Watch out for 1266. I like 1266. Watch out for 3772, 4883. Watch out for 549216. Watch out for 972. Watch out for 743, 745, 747, 455, 252, 257, 662, 664, 666, 999. You got quad fours, quad fives, sixes, eights, and nines. Watch out for 59573. Watch out for 45468. You got 21382. You got 19071. Watch out for 64855374, 42633152. Watch out for 946. Watch out for 980, 982, 983, 820, 824, 829, 266, 260, 068. So remember, when I tell you that a big money pattern is about to surface and you don't believe me, something is definitely wrong with you. Not me. I will see everybody at the winner's table no matter what. If you're interested in joining my VIP, by all means, you can email me at dynamicallydriven@gmail.com. But be prepared. I'm going to ask you for the prerequisite. Our communication cannot go past that prerequisite. That lets me know that you're serious about winning. Because some people come to me and they have that, oh, woe is me, and they're stuck in the, oh, woe is me. And I can't pull you out of that, oh, woe is me. You got to pull yourself out of that. You got to believe in yourself before you can even believe in me. Because if you're believing in yourself, your higher self is going to say, hey, look, that dude is like me. I'm speaking to your higher self, not your lower self, because your lower self is vibrating so low, it can't even deal with me. I'm telling you, some people, I can get around some people and they will literally just piss and defecate on themselves because they can't handle the vibration. So again, we all need to be at the winner's table. The only way that we can all sit at the winner's table is by following simple winning instructions. Now, I put out 7 states. I expect you to be able, if you live in Georgia, to be able to at least run what I give you for Georgia. And if you can't, at least run the number 1 number. That's the least that you should be able to do. But what I recommend, here's the key, the winning key. You take that first number from each of the 7 states You take that first number on fire from each of the 7 states, that's 14 numbers, and you run those numbers in any state that you wish for 2 to 3 drawings to 2 to 3 days. You should be coming back and asking me, hey, Mr. Bascomb, what's your Cash App? What's your Zelle? What's your PayPal? I got something for you. Abundant prosperity in health and in wealth to all who follow me and believe in the hard work that you see me accomplishing every single day without fail. I will not fail. I cannot fail. Why? My numbers don't lie. Energy, frequency, and vibration is real. Quantum physics is real. Astral projection is real. So, again, when I tell you that I know a little something about the laws of statistics, I know a little something about the laws of randomness. Ladies and gentlemen, don't get it twisted. This is something beyond most people's comprehension. This is why people will say, I'm not real, he's fake, but you see me doing it every single day. I keep satisfied and happy VIP members who win over and over and over again, simply by following winning instructions. I'm going to see everybody at the winner's table, right? Again, you have my information. Feel free to contact me. Go to the website if you already know what to do. Because once you go to the website, and if I catch the email, I'm going to send you a link to my private Discord channel. But if I don't send you a link, you can always email me at dynamicallydriven@gmail.com. Send me your receipt and I will send you that link.